What if I told you that the fall of great civilizations can often begin with barbarians at the gates? Here we will present when barbarians did that very thing. Rome fell victim to this not only once but several times in history. Picture this: Rome, the shining city on 7 hills, the heart of an empire that stretched from Britain to the Euphrates, a beacon of civilization amid a world of chaos. Yet, every empire has its twilight, and Rome was no exception. Enter the Visigoths, led by a former Roman military commander, Alaric. Jilted by the empire's broken promises and mistreatment, Alaric and his Visigoths sacked Rome in 410 AD. The city that had once conquered the world fell to what it considered barbarians, a bitter irony that was not lost on the Romans. Yet, Rome's troubles were far from over. 45 years later, the Vandals, led by King Genseric, once again brought havoc to the Eternal City. But Genseric's sack of Rome was not just about destruction. It was a political chess move that culminated in a peace treaty, allowing the Vandals to establish a kingdom in North Africa. It was a blow to the Roman Empire's prestige, another sign that its power was waning. Historian Edward Gibbon once noted, "The decline of a civilization is marked by its obsession with superficial displays of wealth, a distortion of artistic expression, and a widening gap between the privileged and the destitute." And indeed, as Rome was sacked, its citizens were left to ponder how their civilization, so obsessed with the grandeur of its past, had fallen to the barbarians at the gates. In the end, the fall of Rome was not just the result of external threats. It was also a symptom of internal decay, a civilization that had lost its way, blinded by its own excesses and unable to adapt to a changing world. And thus, Rome, the beacon of civilization, fell victim to the barbarians at the gates. From the ruins of Rome, let's now journey to the vast steppes of Asia, where another group of barbarians rose to power. The Mongols. Enter Genghis Khan, the founder of the Mongol Empire in the early 13th century. His empire spread through the conquests of Central Asia and China, and while the Mongols were notorious for their brutal military campaigns, Genghis Khan was also a reformer. He implemented administrative changes and promoted religious tolerance, transforming a nomadic tribe into a sophisticated and centralized empire. Following in his footsteps was his grandson, Kublai Khan, who completed the conquest of China, and established the Yuan dynasty. Under Kublai Khan, the empire thrived, becoming a hub of cultural exchange and economic prosperity. As Aldous Huxley wisely put it, that men do not learn very much from the lessons of history is the most important of all the lessons of history. The Mongols, once the barbarians at the gates, had now become the gatekeepers of a vast empire. Traveling back to the barbarian invasions in Europe while the Mongols were building their empire in the east, Europe was facing yet another one of its own barbarian invasions. The Western Roman Empire, once a beacon of civilization, was now a fading star, besieged by Germanic and Hunnic tribes. Among these tribes were the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths, each playing their part in the unraveling tapestry of the empire during the migration period, between the 4th and 6th centuries. Meanwhile, the Hunnic tribes, led by formidable leaders such as Attila, cast a shadow of threat over Eastern Europe. Attila's invasions culminated in the Battle of the Catalonian Plains in 451 AD, where a coalition of Roman and Visigothic forces repelled the Huns. Reflecting on this period, the ancient historian Sima Qian observed, the empire, long accustomed to peace, had grown weak, while the barbarians beyond the frontier had become strong and bold. It was the natural course of events for the government to decay and the people to grow corrupt. The barbarians had breached the gates, and Europe was forever changed, leading to the Mughal invasions in India. Meanwhile, in the east, the subcontinent of India was about to face its own barbarian invasion. In the late 14th century, the fearsome conqueror Timur, better known as Tamerlane, set his sights on northern India. In the year 1398, Timur's forces swept through the region, sacking the illustrious city of Delhi. The invasion was a cataclysmic event, resulting in widespread destruction and chaos. Yet, despite the devastation, Timur did not establish a lasting empire in the region. His impact on Indian history, while significant, was relatively short-lived. As the great Edward R. Murrow once said, civilization is in a race between education and catastrophe. The truth of this statement is demonstrated in the aftermath of Timur's invasion. It was the resilience of the Indian people, their ability to learn from their experiences, that allowed them to recover and rebuild. The barbarians had left their mark on India, but their reign was short-lived. The last group of barbarians erupted from the Viking raids. As we near the end of our journey, let's set sail to the icy shores of Scandinavia, home to the Vikings. These seafarers, hailing from the Scandinavian lands, were not just fierce warriors but also skilled explorers and traders. Their longships, masterpieces of naval technology, allowed them to navigate both open seas and shallow rivers, reaching lands far beyond their homelands. One of the most remarkable Viking explorations was the establishment of Vinland, located in what we now know as North America. This feat, achieved by none other than Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, took place almost 500 years before Christopher Columbus set foot on American soil. Vinland was a testament to the Vikings' audacious spirit, showcasing their ability to venture into unknown territories and establish thriving settlements. But the Viking footprint was not only marked by settlements. They also etched their mark through extensive trade routes. Their trade networks spanned from their homelands in Scandinavia to the distant corners of Europe, Asia, and even North Africa. They traded a variety of goods, from furs and ivory to slaves and precious metals, fostering economic connections and cultural exchanges. One of their most intriguing roles was in the Byzantine Empire, where they were known as the Varangians. Here, the Vikings morphed from explorers and traders to skilled mercenaries. They served as the personal bodyguards of the Byzantine emperors, earning a reputation for their loyalty and fighting prowess. The Varangians were a testament to the adaptability of the Vikings, showing their ability to integrate into different societies while maintaining their distinct identity. So, as we look back at the Viking raids, we see much more than the stereotypical image of horned helmet warriors. We see explorers charting unknown territories, traders creating expansive networks, and mercenaries serving foreign empires. The barbarians at the gates had become explorers, traders, and settlers, challenging our preconceptions and rewriting history. Often the barbarians, once destroying the civilizations of old, become the gatekeepers to the creation of new civilizations. History doesn't always repeat, but it often rhymes.